Okay, so this class is for teaching girls PE. Now the one thing you have to think of is you're not going to really get a major in teaching girls PE, right? But guess who's going to have to teach it? Whenever you're fresh out of college, a school hires you and you're 23 and you come to teach and they need somebody to teach girls PE. Guess who's going to teach it? You. No matter how athletic you are, you end up getting that job. So what this is this is something that I learned. Actually, I was able to major in PE here, but we don't do that anymore. But I was able to come up with this idea to help girls that have to end up teaching somewhere. Now, sometimes we have boys in this class because they're education majors, and obviously they're not going to teach girls PE, but they are going to be the one, again, that the if they're running a school, they're going to say, okay, I've got to come up with something. They're going to come to a lady and say, can you teach girls PE? And they're going to go, what do I do? And they might have to help them. So sometimes there's boys in here too, but this is teaching high school girls physical education. So first of all, the first thing we do is we just go over different ideas of what can be taught. Like, are we going to teach boxing? No. So we have a whole bunch of different ideas. So this involves input by you guys. You guys have to give me some ideas, and then I'll go through a whole list of the things that I have. So, easy one. Come on, Maggie.
If it's a small school, you could do tennis or sports like that.
Yeah, that's good. But even if it's a big school, what's an obvious? Volleyball. That's every girl's favorite. Okay, give me another one now.
Track.
Track. Okay. Basketball. Softball. Swimming. Canoeing.
Available.
Yep, we're going to talk through that, yes. Are you running out?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through a big list, and we're going to just talk through the list, just give a brief idea of why we could maybe do this subject, and go through all these ideas. That way you have a nice bucket load of stuff to choose from when you get that job. So first of all, I have softball. Somebody said baseball. Most of the time girls do softball. Basketball, volleyball. Okay, another odd one is cycling. A lot of these odd ones are for when you have a small school and you don't have a volleyball court or anything like that. You can teach the girls how to change a tire and fix a chain, and then how to ride down the roads. There's so many kids that don't ride down the road right, and they're riding in front of cars, but that's a fun thing to do. Even if you don't have a gym, we said basketball, volleyball, it doesn't mean you can't have it. We visited a school, and they're actually in a industrial type area, and there's truck docks out behind their school because it's like an industrial type area. Well, none of the other businesses use the trucking area, so that's where they have their gym, and they play volleyball and everything out there. So you don't have to have a gym to do all this, but it is nice. But again, like you said, tennis. Tennis is a good one because most every town has parks that you can use for free. You ask the students to bring in tennis rackets, and you have to buy balls, and you have a very cheap thing that you can actually teach. And tennis. Tumbling. We were able to do tumbling, and it was fun. We just made sure to block off the doors and the windows in the doors, that is, so there wasn't guys being able to see in or something like that, but that was a lot of fun. Taught some coordination. Floor hockey or field hockey, both types. Ice hockey, of course, all these are major Canadian things, Every time I have Canadians in my class, it's always, we say volleyball, they say hockey right away. So you got floor hockey, field hockey, ice hockey. When we visited out west, or when we've been up like in Minnesota, every town has a free ice skating rink. And it's just like by the library, they'll flood a section. So there you go. You don't even have to have a gym, and you can have ice hockey in the wintertime. We're not familiar with that because they don't really do that around us. So track and field, very good. Cross country. If you don't have a whole track and field facility, but anybody can do cross country. Canoeing. We have the privilege of having a lake here, but there is canoeing places. There's lakes in town and things that you can rent, and You can teach them canoeing so that the girls aren't going out there canoeing like this and stuff like that. All of these things we're going to talk about later, but all of these things you're teaching. It's not like, oh, let's just go out and go canoeing. No, you actually have a teaching time. Swimming, if you don't have a pool, usually a YMCA or even the local public school may allow you to use their facilities for teaching. Maybe, that sometimes works. Weightlifting, just weight training, teaching them how to do things without getting hurt. Got soccer. Badminton. At one time, we had a PE teacher here that loved badminton, and she set up all kinds of badminton nets, and we did them all in the gym, and there was all kinds of meets going on. You talk to Mr. Cultus. He is a badminton coach, so he loves that. So you can teach that. Snowshoeing, you have that is in a cold area. You could do that. Bowling. When you have a bowling alley in your town, if you contact them and tell them you would like to teach PE and teach bowling, they love that and they give you a great rate. They'll cut it way down. So that's a lot of fun whenever you can teach it, not just, okay, we're going to go there and put up the gutters and the gutter rails and bowl that way. Okay, of course we are able to do racquetball. That's a special thing that we're able to do, but you could rent out a Y if you needed to. Somebody mentioned golf, I guess. I don't know, that'd be kind of expensive. Another person, one time we had class, they did lacrosse, so I don't even know how to play that, but tetherball is a game. Skiing, if you live out west, again, the same idea. You talk to, when I say out west, you could be up in Michigan, or, you know, we used to have a ski lift near us, but we never got enough snow for them to stay in business. But they had an agreement with the local schools that rental and ski lifts were very cheap as long as you guaranteed you could come this many days. That's a lot of fun to be able to do. Ice skating, archery, riflery, disc golf. I guess you could call that a sport. But President's Physical Fitness, it's always a good thing to do.
Foursquare.
Foursquare, okay, is that a sport we can learn?
Yes.
Okay, all right, as long as it's a sport we can learn. Not like duck, duck, goose. That's okay, so there's some ideas. Do you guys have any others? Did you think of some while I was giving you that big list? I think we covered a pretty lot. So it gives you somewhere to start. You know, you go out and you say, I'm supposed to take care of all the girls' PE. I don't have any training. Okay, I have something here I can do. And you try and go from there. What you don't want a PE to turn into just a recess. There is a good time for kids to go out and have recess. I'm not saying recess is bad, but you want PE, you want to be teaching them so they can develop good habits in these areas of physical fitness. So the next thing we're going to talk about is a usual daily routine. First of all, we talked about the teaching ideas. Secondly, we're going to talk about a usual daily routine. Okay, before we think through our routine, one thing we have to remember is that if you're teaching high school girls PE, they're going to need a time to change. So when you're doing your schedule, don't forget that you need a time for them to change. So how are you going to know how long they need? What do you think is going to be a good way that you're going to know how long they need, time they need?
Time them the first time they do it.
Nope, because they'll just talk and he'll be forever and...
Set a time limit for them.
Actually, you do it yourself. Time yourself coming from their class, walking up, not running, changing your clothes without talking and things, and coming down. That's how you're going to know. Because if you time them, oh yeah, they'll be like, oh yes, it takes us so long. And what do girls do in locker rooms? Talk. Boys goof off, girls talk. So you have to time it so you do it yourself. So your idea is good to time it, but it's you doing it, and that way you know. And then usually what I do is I gave a couple more minutes than how long it took me, because there's more girls in the locker room that you're bumping around with. Now that our girls have to come from the education building all the way up to the gym building, you have to give more time. Whereas before, The gym was in the education building, so you're going to have to adjust things as you go. So you want to do that, but then you have to enforce then to say, class starts at this time, you get here. Because if not, half your class will be wasted by the talk machine. Okay? So after they've changed and everything, first of all, you're going to do a warm-up exercise. Now, I'm going to give you times, and these times are going to be ranges, and depending on whatever subject you're doing, sometimes the warm-up time will be shorter, sometimes the teaching time will be longer, these will adjust. So for instance, warm-up exercise, 5 to 10 minutes. If you're doing one type of teaching, you may only need 5 minutes of warm-up exercise. And the idea with warm-up exercise is like stretching out our bodies. We've been sitting in a classroom. We need to do a little bit of stretching first. So we may not need as much stretching if we're doing a certain subject than other ones. So secondly, a warm-up run. It's kind of good to do a warm-up run. You're not going to do a warm-up run if you're teaching swimming, obviously, but it is good to get a warm-up run. Again, they've been sitting in class. This gets their bodies going and gets them ready. After that, usually I would have a teaching time. Now, sometimes I would rotate this. Sometimes I would have the teaching time, then the warm-up afterwards, all depending on what we were doing. The reason is maybe the warm-up needed to be happening and then they went right in. A lot of times it's cold in the winter. I just want them to warm up because it's cold. So the teaching time, what you have to remember is of each of these subjects, it's a class. Even cross-country can be taught. Even, canoeing, like we said, can be taught. You don't want it to be that, okay, we're going to do volleyball, so we come down and we just play volleyball. You're not going to learn that way. So you want to have teaching time, and if this is given to you, there's plenty of resources out there. Our public schools are very much involved with physical education. So there's a lot of information out there that you can teach. So during this teaching time, you want to explain the goals of the class period, or teach how we're going to do the drill, or teach our game plan. So we might be teaching on a subject, and maybe we're in volleyball. This is super common. We're going to learn the set today. So we're going to teach about how to use our hands when to set. What is a carry and not a set? So we teach that. Then we say we're going to do a drill, and in this teaching time, I teach the drill. What I don't want to do is I taught it, and then they all come out, and now you go here and you go here. You waste a lot of time. Whereas if you teach the drill beforehand, you're still going to have to tell them, oh, no, you want to be over here, because they may not get it. But you've taught it once so they understand where it's going. So in that teaching time, you want to do that. Then you want to drill, and this can be 10 to 20 minutes. Again, this all depends on what the subject you're doing. 10 to 20 minutes of drill. You're trying to teach them setting. You're going to drill a certain way. You're going to have another drill another way. You're going to have another drill a different way. You're going to drill. When I taught cycling, so we drilled taking the chain off and putting the chain on, and taking the chain off and putting the chain on. So it was super easy. We took the tires off to put the tires back on. Canoeing, we drilled. You're canoeing on the left side, switch to the right, slide the hand down and put it, So we weren't even in the lake while we're doing those drills. So drill time, 10 to 20 minutes. Then it's kind of fun, if you can, to end with a game. Now the game doesn't mean it's the end game of whatever subject you're teaching. For instance, we've been talking about volleyball. If you're having a lesson on setting, and that's as far as you've gotten in volleyball, your end game is not going to be, okay, split the class into 2 teams and we're going to play volleyball against each other. No, you're going to come up with a fun game that involves setting. So we have a, hit until you're out type thing. Okay, these 2 groups are going to set to each other, and when you mess up, you have to get out, and whatever team lasts. It's fun, but it's not a real game of volleyball. You can get to the real game of volleyball when you've taught all the different aspects of volleyball. So what you don't want to do is, oh, I taught on serving today, and my game is all about bumping. Try and have everything go together. If I was canoeing, we've been doing side to side. Okay, the game would be How far can you go in a straight line with one in the back is going a certain way and one in the front, something like that, just something fun. Okay, so that's your usual daily routine. Don't forget, they need to change again and go back to class. If you're lucky enough that it's at the end of the day, that's a nice thing because you get a little bit more time. Our 9th through 12th grade has it at the end of the day. The 7th and 8th graders are right in the middle of the day, so you have to, again, give time for them to get back to class. All right? So we've talked about different teaching ideas and a usual daily routine, but why have girls' PE? A lot of people do not see the importance of it. I mean, this is not that important. Girls need to cook and clean and take care of babies, and what do we need to have girls' PE for? So I have some ideas of why we need to have girls' PE. So I had several C's, and over the years, different classes have helped me make them all C's. Now, how Pastor Damron, he always likes letters to go together. I'm not like that. But I had classes help me do this. So the first thing, why have girls' PE? Character. Character. So in PE, you can actually grade on attitude. Attitude can be actually graded in PE. Are you going to ever really get a grade on attitude in math? No, they're going to answer the question. But in PE, there can be not only bad attitudes of I can't get it, but there can be haughty attitudes of I know how to do this and I don't need to be listening to you. That is going to result in a lower grade. So character, you can grade actually on attitude in PE. That really helps keep good attitudes in line whenever you say, now I'm going to have to lower your grade because of your attitude. Whether it's poor, as in, I can't do it, I don't like this, or I'm so good I don't even need a class, both attitudes. But another aspect of character is teaching to strive to do your best, striving to do your best. Of course, we can do this in other subjects too, but in PE, we can teach to strive to do your best. A third area of character is persistence. Work at something until you get it. Work at something until you get it. PE is a fun place to see drastic changes. It's really fun because you go from girls who think they can't get it at all to, wow, they're really good at that. And I'm going to keep working at it until I get it. I don't have good depth perception. So racquetball, that ball comes fast and I don't have good depth perception. But the more I worked at it, I can get this. It helped. And then you see, keep at it. You're going to get it. That's a good thing that helps girls, and it can be taught in PE. So the first thing we said was character. The second thing is coordination. Coordination. Why have girls PE? To teach coordination. Have you ever noticed how uncoordinated teen girls are? Maybe college students, girls too. I don't know. Especially 7th and 8th grade. What happens? What happens at that time? 7th and 8th grade with a girl's body.
Everything changes.
Well, and she grows like 18 inches in 2 weeks, right? And now she's olive oil who can't walk and tripping over everything. She's really uncoordinated. So PE really helps coordination, helps them to be able to carry themselves right when they work with coordination in PE. That's where tumbling helped me a lot. I had a teacher that really liked tumbling. So they taught us that, and tumbling's all about balance. And so we learned to stand on our heads and just on our heads, no hands and all that kind of stuff. Well, that helps with coordination. And that's something that for sure a teen girl can use help on at that time, especially when they're growing and their feet size is, bigger than everything and all messed up and tripping over everything. Coordination is a good thing that PE helps a teen girl with. Thirdly, confidence. So first, character, second, coordination, thirdly, confidence. I have here, a girl may not be the prettiest or smartest, but she gets confidence when she realizes she can do this. You know, you don't have to be a good talker to figure out a sport and do it well and work hard at it. So this helps give maybe a girl who's backwards, gives her confidence. I'll tell a story that I always tell, and then I got to share a little funny past it. So I was teaching 7th and 8th grade, and there was a girl in my class, and she was incredibly shy, and she thought she could not do anything. Everything about her was like, I can't do it. So when we went to serve the volleyball, she couldn't make it. She couldn't make it. Well, I could tell her build, she could make it. She was very well, but she just had no confidence. I can't do this. And so she would cry all the time in my class. So finally I told her, I said her name. I said, if you cry, that's a bad attitude, because you're telling me you don't want to really try. You're telling me I can't do this, I quit. So that's the idea of character. But I also wanted to give her confidence. So she worked at it. She started getting her serves. And wow, what a change. Oh, the crying stopped. Well, then the next thing that we did was weightlifting. And so again, I knew, and so I sat down on the leg press, and at one time I could, believe it or not, my skinny little self could press the entire stack with my legs. I liked doing that. So I sat down, I was like, you think I can do this? You think, oh no, you can't do this. Oh, you can, you concentrate. So I did it, and I could see in her eyes, I could do that too. And she started getting involved more and more, and it gave her confidence. This girl felt like, I can't even look at somebody, and she's not a proud girl or anything now, but it made her realize, no, I can do this if I just keep working at it. Now, the funny story is that one year I told the class who it was, because I thought she wouldn't mind. And so after class, I thought, oh, I'll tell her. I said, you're not going to believe, today in class we were telling about this, and you remember whenever you used to cry in my class? And she said, I never cried in your class. I go, yeah, you remember you cried in my class? Oh, no. I thought, well, maybe she has overconfidence now. but really, she did get her confidence, and she couldn't even remember crying anymore about it. I was like, oh, I better not tell that story anymore. So it's kind of funny. She's a wonderful Christian woman, but it's just neat to see it wasn't just that, but PE did really help her. All right, so fourthly, cooperation with team members. Cooperation. So first we have character, coordination, confidence, and cooperation. Learning to deal and work with somebody else who's not like you. Pretty much every other class you come and take a test. You don't have to care less about the person next to you, right? You can come in, take your test, and walk out. That is not so in PE. There's hardly a game where it's just you. So a really helpful thing with PE is to teach girls to work together, and a lot of girls have struggled with that, right? Being team members, not being catty and fighting. So learning to work and deal with somebody else. A lot of times this idea is for actually your talented player. Your talented player has to understand, let's say you're playing basketball. That talented player cannot win for the entire team. She needs to get help from her team members. And I remember we played a team where they had a great player on their team. And all we had to do was shut her down. We could put 4 on her and win because nobody else could do anything. She hogged the ball the whole time. She never knew how to cooperate. So once you learn how to cooperate with others, you are going to help your team go so much further. So it helps the person to work next to and work with this other girl who's nothing like them. What type of team wins? One where everybody has the same talent, or one that everybody has different talents? What team does better? If one team all has the same, we'll use basketball, they all rebound great. But this team, you have all different ones. One rebounds good, one shoots good, one dribbles good. So what team's going to do better?
The different talents.
The different talents. And so you want to have teams with differences, and you want to learn to appreciate somebody else's differences. Sometimes we don't like appreciating anybody else's differences because we think we're it. And PE helps break that down to realize, no, I need her. She may not be able to dribble or shoot, but she gets those rebounds. Wow, we need her. And you learn how to use her capabilities. And that helps you in life to realize, just like the Bible says, we're all not an eye. We're all not a nose. We all have different talents and abilities. And PE helps us to teach us that everyone's place is important. Everybody's place on the team is important. All right, fifthly, conditioning. Conditioning. So why have girls PE? Character, coordination, confidence, cooperation, and conditioning. Strength training. Now, our modern world has built up the idea of girls being like men. I'm not talking about that in any way. Not at all. My husband always says whenever he sees a team come in and they're girls and they're all buff, he said that is so not attractive. He said to a guy, that's like, actually, I like girls because they're not like guys, And he said it's just, ugh. But on the other hand, most besides these ones that are super athletes, the modern person is very weak. Why? How do we get our water? How do we get our water every morning? How do we get our water, Maggie? Did your dad make you go out to the well?
No.
What do you do?
Turn on the faucet.
That takes a lot of strength, doesn't it? How do you wash your clothes?
From the washer.
What? You don't scrub them? No? Okay, how about, how do we cook? Do we have to gather wood and make it back? No. So we don't have normal things that in nature would normally help us to be strong. In the Bible, who carried the water everywhere? Who did you see carrying the water? The women. Those water pots were heavy. I mean, we get water and we're like looking for the men around here, please, because we don't have any strength. So it is important that we strengthen our arms. And if you work out and you work out aggressively, you will never look like a man. The only way you ever look like a man is if you take hormone pills to change your body. You should never do that. But girls will say, I don't want to work out because I don't want to get muscles like a man. You won't have muscles like a man. That's not how God made you. But you will be able to do what God expected a lot of women to do all throughout history. So we don't have those things in America where we have to live. We are able to put something in a box and put it in this box, and we don't even have to lift the box. And the wet clothes, they're heavy coming out of the washer, and then we just put them in the dryer. Not hardly any work at all. So we need to compensate for that. So strength training is very important. So why do we have strength training or conditioning? So we have a few points underneath here. Number one, it helps keep girls healthy. Working out keeps you healthy. When I was a teenager, I had asthma and I could not run once August came, I could not run. And at other times, I had a hard time running. So my dad said, we got to come up with something to help her to be strong. And so he started having me weightlift. And I could weightlift just fine because that didn't mess up my lungs. So every day I would go down and work out. Well, that's why I was able to start benching with my legs, not my arms. My arms were never that strong, but with my legs I could do more because I did that all the time. Well, eventually my asthma started getting better and better. Now my asthma is really good, but eventually it got better and better because my body got stronger and it was strong enough to fight off then the onsets of the asthma. So it helps keep a girl healthy, to keep them in PE and working out. Secondly, it helps them to fight laziness. Laziness is all around us, and it's a temptation for all of us. So it helps them fight laziness. Thirdly, it helps them become a virtuous woman, because what's the virtuous woman do? What's she do? Yes.
She works willingly with her hands.
Yeah, that's one, but that doesn't have to do with Yes, conditioning strengtheneth her arms, doesn't it? That's right there. What does it say? She's not going to say, oh, I just can't do this anymore. No, she's going to keep pushing herself and strengthening her arms means she's trying to make herself strong physically. Never like a man, but strong physically. Okay, so we talked about teaching ideas. We talked about daily routines. Why have girls PE? Now I'm going to say why not to have girls PE, or reasons or things to watch out with girl sports. So I have reasons not to have PE. I'm not saying you don't have PE. I'm just pointing out some negatives. So number one, your goal is not to make athletes. Your goal is not to make athletes. When my husband was a youth pastor, I had a group of girls who, they were not fat, but they were not really good in shape and things like that. And I said, okay, why don't we would sing on Saturday night, but let's every other week we'll work out in the basement. Did you ever do that? Did you ever come to my basement and work out?
No, just for the singing.
Okay, just so that was before your time then. Okay, so because I thought these girls just seemed like physically, I can't do, when you had sports things, I can't. So I said, this is going to be fun. We're all going to work out in the basement and do stuff. And there was a girl who came who actually always seemed overweight. That summer that we did that, she lost all kinds of weight, and I was not trying to get her to lose weight. She majorly became an athlete. I mean, like really turned a corner. Now, in PE and things, we didn't worry about it. We're just thinking, oh, she's just excited about this. However, she fell away from the Lord, and her number one goal became to be an Olympic athlete. She tried out. She was very close to going to Rio de Janeiro, or wherever, how do you say that? I'm probably saying it wrong, but I'll say Rio. She almost went to Rio, and I was shocked at the other Christian people that said, awesome, that's great. I was appalled. It wasn't great to me. It was horrible that she would sacrifice her femininity to run in what they run in, number one, at the Olympics, but that she would put her whole life into that. That's not the goal of PE. That's not important. It's not what we give our lives to. And the world has really uplifted sports. They're just a side note. Bodily exercise profits little, real little. That's real low. Okay? So we're not our goal. I'm not so excited because somebody becomes an athlete. It's not important to me. So, and today's girls are masculine, and this is not biblical. The Bible says there's a distinction between men and women, and there should be distinction even in sports between men and women. Our girls should not be playing like boys. They can play hard and play tough, but they're girls. They're not boys. And we're going to give a little example of a negative thing that happened in our sports. So, secondly, you're not trying to lift anybody up because of sports. It doesn't make you a good team because you have talent. You don't want to promote pride. It's not saying you can't give a person an award or anything like that, but you're not trying to lift somebody up like, okay, let's say you have a volleyball team that you play against others, and you know that this girl has major talent, and she gets away with murder in school because you want her to be on your team. That's wrong. Or you lift her up and you treat her better than other people because she's really good. That's wrong. We shouldn't do that. We don't want to promote pride. Not at all. Okay, thirdly, you should not try and put sports ahead of other priorities. You should not try to put sports ahead of other priorities. We're trying to mold ladies. We're trying to mold ladies. I had a pastor's wife tell me at one time, and she was very athletic. She was very involved with sports. She came to our college. She got involved in all kinds of stuff. And you know what she told me? She said, I'd trade it all just to be able to learn how to play the piano so she could play in her church. Because her husband started a church and they had nobody play piano, so she was going, okay? So we're trying to mold ladies. So you want to do things in balance. You don't want to have things out of balance. You don't want to have girls so busy that they can't practice their instruments, or they can't cook at home, or they can't have a little job or something like that. It needs to be in balance. You do not want to put sports ahead of other priorities. Okay, underneath this is the example that I was going to give you. Don't let a sport get out of hand. I'll give you an example. Don't let a sport get out of hand. Again, we're still trying to mold ladies. So at one time, Mrs. Armacost was a coach, and I was a coach, and I think Mrs. Vogelin was a coach. I can't remember who the other one was. And we had basketball. And when I was in school, we had men coaches, and they would just lay it down, like, you're not going to do that. But with ladies, we don't know what we're doing or whatever. And more that I coached the basketball, I didn't like what I was seeing. Now, the problem was not basketball. You can play basketball and still be a lady. Wasn't saying that. But I wasn't liking what I was seeing there. And I wasn't liking what I was telling the girls to do. I'm telling them certain things, and I'm like, I just don't like this. So I had one of the pastors come in, and I said, could you please watch this and just tell me what's wrong with it? So he came in, and in our games, when you had jump ball, you don't let go. So the other girl took the ball and would throw the girl, and the girls are being thrown all over the floor, and box out. Oh, we're boxing out. And all of our actions were manly. We were playing like men. So for a little bit, the pastor that came and said, oh no, we're not doing that anymore. And I was so relieved because I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what it was, but it was out of hand. We had become, I'm watching, okay, there, Pastor Damron, he's doing this with the guys. Okay, I'll do that with the girls. Maybe not. Because they shouldn't play the same way as guys. They should not, because we're trying to mold ladies. And so I was so happy when they came in, and Mrs. Armcross grew up playing basketball, and she said, I never saw it like this. I think it's because of Fairhaven, we got to do it with gusto. If we're going to do it, we got to, we can't just jump the ball. We got to throw you across the court and everything, because that person's not going to let go. And she was bothered by it. She said, we didn't play like this, So for a while we stopped it, and then we just been so busy doing other stuff. They have it in PE, but we haven't had the intramurals anymore. So that's the idea of, don't just keep doing something for the sake of doing it. Remember that end goal. We're trying to mold ladies. If we're trying to mold ladies, this is not helping. We need to adjust a little bit. Okay? Secondly, this is something I mentioned slightly, but have priorities. Girls still need home ec, piano, instruments, typing. So have priorities. Girls still need home ec. Do boys need home ec? No. But girls do. Either that or their moms need to teach them, okay? Piano's super important. It can be very much used of the Lord. Instruments, typing. Typing is important for a girl. I mean, guys, yes, but girls do a lot more with, who do you think posts things in the church? Do the men really post, calendars and letters? No. Ladies do. So this is very important. So you have to balance. And someday, maybe we'll get to the place where our girls will be able to have time to play other schools, maybe. But right now, everybody keeps saying, we need to play other schools. We'd play better if we play other schools. You know how we do poor at the tournament. It's not important. I don't want to give up anything that our girls are doing in order for them to play other schools. It's not that important. So someday, maybe it'll work, because something might give, something might be less or something like that, and they would be able to do it. But you have to put things in balance and say, how important it is. Is it important for guys to do others? Yes. Guys were made for battle. They were made for competition. Girls, it's not the end of the world if they don't get it. Okay? All right, so fourthly, reason why not to have girls' PE or things to watch out for is standards, okay? You want to be really careful about having good standards. Modesty is really important. If you're having any sport and you're doing anything, like the tumblings, you got to make sure that the windows are covered. You don't want girls to get loose with their modesty. But another thing you have to be careful of is if you're playing other schools, you have to be careful of what they're going to wear. What's going to come in your gym? What's the normal volleyball outfit look like now? What's that look like? Have you guys seen them?
Shorts and t-shirts.
Oh, and it's not even shorts. It's like the tightest underwear looking things. It cracks me up because guys don't have to wear that. Have you ever seen the girls in running track? Yeah, they're wearing underwear and the guys are wearing shorts. Oh, wow. How come guys can run faster wearing shorts and our girls have to wear underwear? It's completely of the devil, and it's just the devil tricking mankind to think, oh, you have to do this. No, you don't. Well, that's how it is in volleyball. So what are you going to do if you play a school and they come into your gym and they're completely immodest? So you have to realize, okay, is this that important? Okay, if we can't find anybody, there are very good schools out there that have standards and you can play them, but you have to be real careful that you stick with standards and stick with what's right while you're teaching the girls.